what really inspired this poem, and I wrote this poem, oh, not too long ago, maybe a year or so ago, was I used to go to Guile Flowage. And those of you who have been there, you go down to Guile Flowage, and there's a path by the pavilion that goes way up in a bluff. And I walk up that path, up that bluff, and in some of the crevices of the bluff, I put little pieces of board that I found laying around from, I guess, people who were building deer stands or something. And I'd sit there, write poetry to the Guile Flowage. You know, it was sitting out there way down below the bluff. I like reading my poems to inanimate things, because then I can make up their reactions. Don't feel so bad about the way people react to them. But for 2 years in a row, I did this for about 3 years. That was a place I just used to go. A squirrel. Well, here's another thing I used to do. I even tell you something I used to do. I eat almonds. I like almonds, but I like them too much. So when I eat them, I eat too many of them. So what I do is I take just so many and I put them in a sandwich bag. And then I walk away from the source, you know, like where the almonds are. And I eat them, and I get far enough away from the source, and by the time I get back to the source, whatever it is that kicks on in my mind that tells me I shouldn't eat anymore has happened, and so I don't eat anymore. So carrying these almonds up there, and I was sitting there reading this poem, and the squirrel came out. Well, I threw the squirrel an almond, and he ate it. You know, he sat there, and he listened to my poems. I was reading my poem. He twitched his little tail, and well, of course, I know what he was twitching his tail for. He wanted another almond, and I throw another almond. But for 2 years, of course, I don't know if it was the same squirrel. You know, you've seen one squirrel, you've seen them all. I guess. Of course, they probably think that about us, too. But anyway, it seemed like it was the same squirrel. And I read him a lot of poetry, and one day he just quit showing up. I don't know what happened to him. And he took me back to 3 other squirrels in my life, and went way back to my boyhood, way back preschool. I think I was about 3 years old, maybe between 3 and 4 years old. These images come to me crystal clear now. Those images from way back. That's because I'm almost dead. When you almost get dead, you get those images. I can't remember yesterday, I can't remember last week, I can't even remember last year, but I can remember way back when I was 3 years old, just like it was happening right now. I was standing in the yard, and there was a squirrel coming across a telephone wire. And my dad was there. You can just see this. I can see it really clear right now. And I said, Dad, how can that squirrel do that? I was not well balanced. I've never been well balanced, physically or mentally. I was certainly not very well balanced when I was 3 or 4 years old. I'd fall off porch railings and everything. And my dad, he told me, he says, his tail. I said, his tail, yeah. He says he does that with his tail. He uses it as a balancing pole. And I never forgot that. And I watched that squirrel come back across that wire. He went that way, and you could see his tail waving, just a very, very, very graceful thing. And then there were a couple other squirrels that got into this thing, and you'll meet them in a few minutes. You can probably guess the title of this. It's Tails. T-A-I-L-S. Tails. Tails. This summer, I submit my lines to a squirrel that listens at the edge of a bluff on the Guile Flowage. I hold his attention by occasionally tossing him an almond. His twitching tail sends mixed responses to my words. He's become the persona of 3 of his kin that have scampered in and out of my life. He's that squirrel I marveled at as a small boy as he ran across a telephone line. I, who couldn't tightrope walk our wide back porch railing, asked my dad, how does he stay on the line? His tail, my dad said. He uses it as a balancing pole. I watched him come back, his tail swaying on line, an icon of beauty and balance. He's that squirrel that a few years later I spotted atop a power pole. Not intending to hit him, I shot from the hip with a pellet gun, knocked him to the ground. And minutes before he died, amidst the cheers, plaudits of fellow arms bearers, his tail slapping the base of the pole as he struggled to live, I listened to his eyes. They weren't angry, condemning, but frightened, confused. They asked me why. What did I do that was so wrong? I couldn't answer, and I cried. He's that squirrel that a few years ago I ran over with my car while traveling too fast on a country road, whose mangled body I watched twitch, trying to stay alive beneath his beautiful tail, waving in a strong breeze above the carnal waste. Today, snow in the air, I confess to my critic. I've killed your kin, I say. I didn't mean to. I love them. I reach behind me, rub the knob at the base of my spine, the remnant of a tail that no longer maintains. With the other hand, I toss him an almond like a penance. He takes it and retreats. Frightened I won't see him again, I yell after him. I'm sorry, I'm tailless. I'm off balance, out of line. And I do think that the animals that run around on this planet with tails are doing a hell of a lot better job taking care of it than we are. And that might have something to do with it. You know, we used to have tails. That's why I wish this one would have sprouted.